So here SDLC process, that is software development life cycle. So whenever we are going to start a project, what kind of phases will be there, and who are all part of each phase, and how actually we are going to execute the project. That's the best process that we will call it as SDLC process, software development life cycle process. Okay. Now nowadays there are two types of projects are running. Okay, one is pure development project, the other one is migration project. So pure development project, where we'll be having where we don't have anything, we are going to build from scratch. Okay, that for that kind of a project, this SDLC process will apply. The other one is migration projects. So in the migration projects, so code is already there in a different tool like data manager or power center or MSBI, SSI, sub initio, or any other ETL tool will be having ETL code logic is established. Okay. Now what we will have to do is we will have to just migrate the code. Like we'll have to replicate apple to apple, or we'll have to do the development. So what is there in the other tool, the same logic that we'll have to implement here. So that we will call it as a migration project. Okay. Now for migration project, we don't have any processes. Okay. So simply how many jobs are there and how many jobs needs to migrate. How many jobs needs to be migrated, and we will be getting a mapping spec. What are the different jobs that we have, and so each job we'll be doing step by step developments and we'll complete it. Okay, we'll migrate the code from development to UAT and UAT to production. We'll migrate. Okay. Now let us actually go with the SDLC process. Like if at all, a new project is going to start, like what are the different phases or steps will be involved in the development phase. Okay. Now, when we wanted to start a project, yeah. Before that, any questions? Anyone having any questions here? Any questions? Anyone? Before I start with actually.
I don't have anything, Bhaskar.
Okay. Now, so when we wanted to start a project, first we should have a customer, right? So customer is a person who is going to give us the project, stating that I have some work and this work I wanted to be completed by this date. Okay. Now, what customer is going to do? So customer will be having different vendors. Okay. So customers usually so they will be having different vendors. Okay. So these vendors are going to be they are going to invite the biddings. Okay. So these customers, they are going to invite biddings, stating that I have this kind of a requirement. Can you guys give your bidding? Like can you guys give your estimations? Okay. So how much effort? How much effort that you are going to take, and how much money that you wanted to complete this activity. Okay. So they are going to call for vendors for every customer. When we see, okay, so they are not going to completely rely on one company, they are going to rely on multiple companies. Okay, when they say that so there is some task, so there is some task, and they wanted to do something. Okay, they will not only depend upon ours. Okay, let's say I am working in Cognizant, so I'm working for a client called Sanofi. Okay, so in my client, so Cognizant, along with the Cognizant, there are many other people also working from the different companies, because Sanofi is having vendors like Cognizant, TCS, okay, Genpact. There are different vendors are there. Okay, so when there is some task is there, then they'll ask all the people. From Cognizant, they are going to get the bidding. From TCS, they are going to get the bidding. From Genpact, they are going to bidding. So they are going to ask the respective people that I have this particular task, the project delivery heads. So there is some task. So the task is like this. Okay. So we wanted the estimations from you. What they're going to do once they get the estimations, they are going to compare with all other companies. Okay, how this work is coming up. Okay, now how much effort is going to be taken. So out of all these 3, 4, whoever is going to give lesser bidding, so they will go with them. Okay. So once they are going to finalize the vendor, okay. So this particular project, I am going with Cognizant. Okay. So then what they are going to do, there will be a project delivery heads. So project delivery head will be knowing the details. Then what they are going to do, they will be assigning to a architect. Okay, they'll be assigning that activity to an architect, stating that can you design the model with the requirement, with the help of the business requirement. Okay, so just connect with the business and get complete details about the project and try to build an architect. Sorry, try to build a data model. So this architect, what they're going to do, so they are going to first prepare the conceptual model. Okay, so in the conceptual model, where we'll be having only the tables. Okay, what kind of tables that will be there in the data model. And then once the conceptual model review is completed, then they will preparing the logical model. So the logical model will be having what are the different columns will be there in the tables and how the relationships are being established. So once the logical model is going to be get reviewed, once they say okay, then the physical model. So in the physical model, the objects, whatever the objects that are created in the data model will be created in the database. Okay. Once the data model is going to build the once the data model is ready, then there will be a business analyst and leads will be coming into the picture. So these business analysts will start with the conversations with the business, stating that yeah, the architect have given this many tables, and now I wanted to gather the details to load the data into these tables. Now we know the tables, but we know the column names in the tables. But what is the source table? How we have to load these tables? And what is the business logic for each of the table? So that information will be gathered by the business analyst. Okay, business analyst will gather all the details. I'm sorry. Business analyst will gather all the details about all the requirements. Okay, so what is the table? What is the column? How each column has to be loaded. So that information will be gathered by the business analyst. Along with the business analyst, the team leads like the dev lead and test lead will be also there in the call. Like they will be understanding the requirement. Okay, so they will be understanding the requirements and they will be letting the business know the complexity. Okay, so this much complexities. Okay, because when they give the initial biddings, right, so they'll be having one kind of an understanding, but when actually it is come to the developer hand or the dev lead hand, so that time they'll be having complete visibility about how we have to implement the requirement. Okay, there are certain requirements we can say that yeah, this is in this way we can do it is very easy, but when we actually come into the implementation it will take more time. So that will be knowing by the dev lead. So dev lead will be knowing about it. So then they will be discussing with the business that this is this kind of requirement, each requirement, so this requirement takes this, and they will be giving a justification if any requirement is taking more time. Okay, now once the business analyst gathers the details, right, then the analysis phase is going to start. Okay, so in the analysis phase, we'll be start analyzing the requirements. What are the different requirements that we have, and we'll be analyzing it, like how we have to start with the implementation, how we have to do the developments, so that we will get to know in the analysis phase. So the dev lead and the team onboarding will be started. 1 second, I'll just come and wait. So is there any noise?
No, Bhaskar. It's clear. Your voice is clear.
Background noise?
Nothing is there.
Okay, fine. Now the dev team will be onboarded and we'll be starting with the analysis. So analysis of all the requirements that we will be doing it. So and then dev team will be onboarded. So once the analysis phase is completed, then the actual development phase will be started. Okay, now when the development phase is going to get started, so this project will be designed in a two models. Okay, so either waterfall method or agile methodology. Okay, so nowadays people are not using waterfall method. Okay, so like in big projects under waterfall method, they are not using it, but very rare cases people are using still waterfall method. Okay, so what is waterfall method? Okay, so waterfall method is basically in order to start a project, we are going to gather the complete requirement at one shot, and we'll do the entire development at one shot, and we'll be doing entire testing at one shot, UAT at one shot, and the development and the production at one shot. Okay, everything will be so, which is going to be the complete the product requirement that we'll be taking at one shot, and we'll do the developments. But actually, right, this is kind of a failure model. Okay, so now earlier before agile methodology, so each and every project minimum it was taking some 2 years, 3 years time. Okay, nowadays the projects are getting completed in 2 months, 3 months, or 5 months. Okay, why? Because in the waterfall method, when they actually start the development, right, so people in the organization will be still people in the organization, they will be keep moving from one organization to other organization. So when they are moving it, right, today there will be one person who is going to give the requirement. Okay, now when they are going to give the requirement today, so in the analysis phase, the business analyst is going to give the requirement and they'll go off. Then the dev team will be taking those requirements and they'll be doing it. There will not be any interaction with the business analyst, sorry, the business person, and we'll be in testing. Okay, by the time the business person who gave us the requirements, they'll be moving to a different organization. Then new person will be replaced and the UAT is going to start. So when the new person is going to start with the UAT, they will not be knowing anything about this project. What is happening, for what reason these kind of requirements are there. They will not be knowing about it. Again, what they are going to do, so each and every person, they'll be having their own perceptions. When they have their own perceptions, again they'll say that no, why we are implementing like this, no, we should have implemented in a better way. Then they'll be start doing the suggestions. Okay, when they're going to start doing the suggestions, either this project may go to the live or they are going to do remodification to the project. Okay, when they are going to do the remodification, again we will have to keep start the development. When we are going to start with the development, again we'll have to go with the phases. So this is going to be more consuming process, like more time consuming process. So in this case, the failure rate of the projects are very high. Around 70-80% of projects are getting failed. Only some 20-30% of the projects only getting succeeded in the waterfall method. So that is why earlier the projects are taking years and years. When we start with one project, minimum 2-3 years the project will be there. Even in my initial days of the career also, like I was having this kind of projects only. Every project, very simple project also, minimum it is taking 6 to 7 months. Okay, now, so to get a solution, why these projects are taking this much time? So do we need to have some alternative approach, like to complete the project efficiently without burden to the business. So that's why this agile came into the picture. Okay, so in the agile methodology, what they are going to do when we say that we are following agile methodology, so what they are going to do is they are going to split the product into multiple pieces. So the entire project, whatever they plan to start now, so they are going to split into multiple pieces. Okay, let's say we have a Flipkart application. So when they have Flipkart application, now if you see, right, there are many options. Let's say when I'm going to open Flipkart application. Now if you can see here, login page, cart, and then mobiles, fashion, electronics, home furniture, flight booking, two-wheelers, all these things are there. But actually, if you see, right, was some 4-5 years before, only mobiles, electronics, and home furniture appliances are there. Okay, these flight bookings, fashion, and two-wheelers are not there. Slowly, they have added fashion. Then they have added flight bookings. Then they have added two-wheelers. So day by day, they are keep adding more features into this application. Okay. Now, how they are adding, how whatever the product which is already running, how the business is going, accordingly they are going to start integrating with the multiple other services. Right. So in a waterfall method, from day one, the entire application will be with all the features. Whether they're going to succeed it, whether they're going to fail, it doesn't matter. But in case of agile methodology, they are going to cut the entire product into multiple pieces. Okay, in a ETL world, so they are not going to load all the tables. So whatever the data that we are loading into a table, those data needs to be used by the application. Okay, so now whatever the portion of the application is being built, so for that only we are going to load the data into the tables. Okay, now they are going to first piece we will call it as MVP, minimum viable product. Okay, minimum viable product means, so when I wanted to go to the market with this application, what are the minimum things should be there in the application? Okay, because when people wanted to use this application, what are the basic features that we are giving it, or what are the features that we are going to give it right now? Okay, minimum they have to use, the customer should be able to use the application. Okay, that we will call it as MVP, minimum viable product. Okay, now each piece is going to be a release. So this agile methodology, so each piece, okay, the first piece I called it as MVP, right? So now every piece we are going to call it as a release. Each release will be having several sprints. Like each release will be having some 4 sprints or 5 sprints or 6 sprints. Okay, now each release will be of 3 weeks of time minimum. Sorry, not minimum, maximum 3 weeks, minimum 1 week. Sorry, minimum 1 month, maximum 3 months. Okay, each release will be minimum 1 month, maximum of 3 months will be there. Okay, now in the release we are going to split into multiple sprints, right? Now in this release, what are the tables that we are going to load it, and what is the dependency between these tables? Okay, in first sprint, what are the tables to be completed? In the second sprint, what are the tables to be completed? In the third sprint, what are the tables to be completed? So they are going to prioritize. They are going to prioritize the data loads. When they are going to prioritize the data loads, they are going to keep as per the priority into the number of sprints. Let's say we are going to have some 4 sprints, and we have some 20 requirements. Now, when we have 20 requirements or 20 tables to be loaded, in each sprint, how many tables that we have to load? Tables, right? So when we are going to load 5 tables, so in 4 sprints, we'll be able to complete these 20 tables. Now, in the sprint 1, 5 tables that we have to load, which 5 tables that we have to load? According to the priority. So we will be having a priority. So in the priority, we are going to take up the tables. How, when we are going to set the priority? So we will be having a sprint planning meeting. For every sprint, when we are going to start, we will be having a sprint planning meeting. So in the sprint planning meeting, we are going to plan for this sprint what all the requirements are ready and what are the requirements that can be done. So sprint planning meeting will be there before we start with the sprint. And so in the sprint planning meeting, we are going to discuss the entire team will be there. So we'll be discussing and finalize. So this particular sprint, we are going to take up these many activities. Now, once the sprint planning is done, then the sprint will be started. Okay. Now we know for this sprint what are the requirements that we are going to take. So then we are going to start with the sprint. This sprint usually it will be of 1 to 2 weeks. Okay. Now in sprint we will be having daily scrum calls that will called as a stand-up calls. When we have daily scrum calls or stand-up calls or status call, where we are going to tell them, so this sprint is of 2 weeks. Now we are with the day 1, we are with the day 2 or day 3. How much percentage of the work is completed? How much percentage of work is completed? And then these 10 days will be split into two. These 10 days will be split in these 10 days. Like 5 days or 6 days will be for development, and 4 days or 3 days will be for testing. Okay, we will have to complete the testing also in sprint. Now, so actually developers will be having 5 to 6 days of time to complete the, even though we call the sprint is of 2 weeks, but still we'll be having 5 to 6 days only for the development. Within these 5 to 6 days, we will have to complete the development for that particular sprint. Then we should give the handover to give the code to the SIT team or testing team. They will be verifying it. And once development and SIT is completed for this sprint, that means in these 2 weeks, whatever we planned in the sprint planning meeting is completed, then we will be having a sprint demo meeting. We'll be having sprint demo meeting. So in the sprint demo meeting, we are going to demo the tables, whatever we loaded. So as part of this sprint, we have planned to load these many tables, and now we have loaded these many tables, and these are the test cases that we have verified. Okay, and usually these sprint demos will be given by the testing team. Okay, so sometimes the people are going to ask the dev team, otherwise the testing team is going to give the demo, because whatever we have achieved, whatever we planned and whatever we have achieved, so we are going to show in sprint only. Okay, so that if at all there are any changes are required, so the business will be having flexibility to add it to the next sprint. Okay, the same way, once we are going to complete with the release, we will be having a release demo. When we have the release demo, so in this release, okay, so these are all the requirements that we have planned, and these are all we have completed, and this is how the product is going to look like. And then business will be within 3 months, the business will be able to give their suggestions or their additional requirements, stating that yes, see, nowadays fashion, when we take the same Flipkart website, initially we'll be going with the electronics and mobiles, all these things. So fashion is having more feature. Okay, so people are more looking for online fashion. So let us integrate the fashion part also into the application. Okay, for that what we should do? If you go with the waterfall method, so in order to add the fashion feature, it's going to take 2 to 3 years of time. By the time the other companies, they will be launching their things. Okay, but in this case, in sprint release, in the agile methodology, in the release, for every 3 months, we are going to interact. So when we have a sprint demo, so the entire agile methodology is going to be managed by the product owner. So this product owner, so they will be joining the sprint demos. They will be joining the release demos. Okay, they will be joining, and then they are going to give their suggestions. Okay, so they will get to know, the product owner will get to know every week or every 2 weeks that how exactly this product is being developed. Okay, that means the development team and the product owner will be having direct interactions for every 2 weeks. Okay, if at all there are any suggestions or any new requirements, any new things that needs to be added as part of the current market trends, so they have a flexibility to add it. Once sprint demo is completed, so then sprint retrospective meeting will be there. So in the retrospective meeting, So what went well, what did not went well. We are going to discuss about in this sprint what went well and what did not went well. Because the dev team or dev team in the sense developers and the testing team, so they are going to play a major role in the projects. When they are going to play a major role, what are the challenges that they are facing is also thing that we need to understand. Okay, let's say we have taken some 5 requirements and we have only 6 days of time. Whether the dev team will be able to complete these requirements, are they going to stretch any hours to complete it, or is it okay to have work these many requirements, how the complexity is, and one person will be having more burden, the other person will be having less burden. So the dev team will be having flexibility to open their mouths and tell, yeah, these are the problems which I am facing in the retrospective meeting. So in the what did not went well, we are going to discuss about these things, so that we are going to maintain work-life balance. So nobody should have a more pressure, no one should take more burden. Okay, so in the retrospective meeting, so what went well, what did not went well. So whatever the points that we are going to get in the what did not went well, we will have to improve it to the next sprints or next releases. Then we will be having this information tracked, stating that in this particular sprint, so these are the points that are raised. Now we are going to improve these points. Okay, so when we are going to improve it, we have to take some evidences that yes, these are all being accomplished. So we will be taking those evidences and we'll be closing the tickets. Tickets will be raised and we'll be putting those evidences and we'll be closed it. So in the sprint retrospective. So if any project is doing pure agile projects, they will be having this many processes. Okay. If any project is not pure agile, it is a semi-agile process, they'll be having this scrum calls and they'll be having sprints, but they are not going to follow these demos, retrospective and all. So majorly, if you go to any product-based companies, they will be following this. They'll be following this pure agile methodology. When you go to any service-based companies, they are not going to follow this pure agile process, because so demos will not be there. Okay, and retrospect will not be there because they are an service-based company. For every service-based company, so they wanted the work to be done. They least bother about their employees. Okay, they least bother about how their employees are getting struggled. Even if you tell them that also, yeah, these are the problems that we are facing, but I don't want all these things. I wanted you to complete this particular task. Have you completed or not? Just tell me that. But if you go to product-based companies, so these agile processes are having more weightage, because I have worked 6-7 years for a product-based company. Okay, IQVM. So where we were following pure agile process. Okay, every developer should peacefully do their work. So nobody should take more burden. They should not feel like they're taking more burden. Okay, so this is actually SDLC process. Now the development phase. Once the development phase is completed, so in the agile process, SIT will be there, system integration testing will be there, but actual system testing will not be there. So now once the development phase is completed, we'll be migrating the code to the testing environment. Testing environment is a validated environment where nobody is going to test the code. There are certain situations where people can manipulate the mappings or data in the dev environment, because they have their flexibility to do the changes in order to make in order to complete this particular task. Even though there are issues, still people will be doing some mock up the data and then they'll be completing it, but they're not going to trust them. So that's why actual testing will be there. Okay, so there will be a testing phase. So if at all there is a release of 3 months, out of that, so let's say 5 weeks will be, uh, 4 sprints will be there. Okay, around 10 weeks will be there. Okay, in this 10 weeks, not 10 weeks, 4 sprints means 8 weeks. So in the 8 weeks, we'll be completing the development, and next 4 weeks, okay, that means first 2 months will be for development. Next 1 month, 2 weeks will be for testing, because this is already tested. Test cases are already prepared. we just need to migrate the code to the testing environment. We will just execute the same test cases and make sure everything is working fine. And then we are going to give 1 week of time to UAT, user acceptance test. So business will be keeping their they'll be coming up with their data. Okay, what is the source data? How exactly the data should come into the target and how it is coming in the target. They'll be comparing with the manual calculations, and if everything is okay, then they are going to give UAT sign off. If not, they are going to tell that these are the issues. They are going to raise a defects that these are the issues are there. Now in these issues, the dev team has to be fixed, and then again the same testing process, and then again it will come to UAT. Once the UAT is completed, then the pre-production will be there. So pre-production, the jobs will be executing in the pre-production for at least 2 to 3 days or 3 to 4 days, because the pre-production database also, the source will be pointed to production only, because when they actually point to production, they should not face any kind of an issues. Okay, so pre-production is nothing but it's a replica of production. Okay, the code will be executing for 3-4 days in the pre-production environment, and we'll make sure there is no issues, and then we will be moving the code to production. Then people are going to announce that we are going to live with this table. This is the actual SDLC process. I will share this diagram with all of you. You can have this. Okay, in interviews, just by seeing that, prepare some kind of notes with your understandings and just explain that how exactly the project, what is the SDLC process. If people are going to ask you, yes, explain all these things. Okay, any questions? Anyone having any questions?
No, Bhaskar.
Clear? So this will be theory concept. You might get bored, but no other option. So this is the actual process that you wanted to understand. But there are some organizations, right? So they're not going to follow this agile methodology. So they'll just do the development, testing, UAT, 1, 2, 3 steps. That's it. People are going to follow these 3 steps in case of migration project. Okay. Now, once we complete with the one, so now the requirements. How are we going to get the requirements? We will be from day one, I've been telling that we are going to load the data from source to target. Okay, so how we will get to know what is the source table and what is the target table? How we will get to know how each column that we wanted to load. So that information that we are going to get it in STTM, source to target mapping sheet. So whatever you are seeing now, so this we will call it as source to target mapping sheet. In this source to target mapping sheet, we are going to have what is the table that we are going to load, and what is the source table, what is the source field, okay, and what is the data types, and then transformation rule will be there. Yeah, transformation rule. So if it is move as is, that means there is no transformation logic is being implemented. Okay, so if for any column, so let's say in the dealer claim table, we have a store ID. In order to store the store ID, I have table. So I wanted to do a join with this table based on this condition. Based on this condition, do look upon this particular table to get particular ID. Okay, for every column, we are going to have different logic whenever we wanted to implement. Okay, now here also we are going to have store history table. Here also we have store history table. But for the above column, we are getting store ID. For the below column, we are getting store history ID. So that means from the same lookup table, we can get these 2 columns, because the join condition is same in both the places. Okay, join condition is same, and the table is same. Okay, the filter condition also same. Only thing is the columns are different. Now we can get the different column. So these 2 columns that we can get it from. the same table. So by seeing this transformation rules, we will have to understand how we have to implement it. Okay, here if you see, all the three columns are coming from same table, but different logic, different columns are being used in the join condition. So when we are using the different columns, we will have to do lookup multiple times on the same table, because we are getting different columns from each of the, in order to populate each column, we have a different columns on the join condition. So the join conditions are different. So that's why we are going to do different lookups. So like this, for every column, we will be having a mapping document, and we need to understand this mapping document and complete the development. Okay, so the complexity will be defined by seeing the mapping document. Okay, if all the columns are moved as is, so then it is simple requirement. If there are 1-2 columns are having some lookups and load, it is a medium complexity. So if these kind of logics are there, so many columns are having this kind of a logic, so then it is a complex and very complex jobs. Okay, because there are many join conditions, many lookups, many tables, many conditions are involved. So that's why we are going to call them as complexity. So the complexity is very high. So in real time also, we are going to define the complexity of the mapping like this. Okay, simple, medium, complex, very complex, or high complex. So like this, we are going to get the mapping document. So in the mapping document, we'll be knowing what is the source table, what is the target table, and what is the source column, what is the target column, what is the data type of each column, and what is the logic that we have to use it to load each of the table. So by seeing this mapping document, we will have to do the developments. So once this document is there, also we'll be having high-level design document. Okay, high-level design document or technical design document. So in the high-level design document, so we are going to have, so this for a different organization, high-level design document. So in the high-level design document, the details about the entire project will be there. Yeah, because these documents are confidential. Okay, don't disclose to anyone. Okay, so what exactly that we are going to do it into the project? So in module 1, what are we doing? Module 2, what are we doing? Module 3, what are we doing? So the entire processes will be defined here. Entire processes will be defined on a very high level. So in the high level design document, the high level, all the details, what are the information that are going to be there in the project, it will be added into the high level design document. So this document I will share it with you guys, and you can just go through these documents, what kind of information is there. Because when you go for interviews, people will be asking, so what are the different documentations will be there, and what are the different processes that you are going to follow. So here, if you see, this is one of the architecture diagram. So in the architecture diagram, how actually the table data are going to be processed. So here, staging load, staging to CR load, CR to interface, property interface. So like that, different interface. See, for every organization, they are going to have separate processes. Not like every organization will follow the same process. No, it's not like that. Every organization, we are going to, like, they'll be having their own processes. But when you go for interviews, you should know. So there are few people who are working in the organization, few people who are not working in the organization, and they are going to look for projects, right? So when you go for interviews, you should be able to say what exact kind of information will be there in the documentation. What is the architecture of the project, right? And each module, what is the, how exactly is being happened. So you should know the minimum information about the project. So that minimum information about the project will be available in the high level design document. So I'm going to share this document with you. You can just read it. You can just try to understand. And if at all you have any questions, we can have a separate discussion, and I can clear all your questions. Okay, high level design document will be there, and low level design document also will be there. Low level design document will be having in detail about every mapping that we are going to do the development. We're going to have in details. So what is the job? What is the source? What is the target? Okay. So this is also one of the other organization document only. Design flow, process flow, and parameter files. What are the different parameters or files are being used? Okay. Now, what is the target table? What is the structure of the table? Okay. What is the source of parameter file? Do we have any scripts? What is the process of the mapping? Okay. How exactly the process is being happening in the mapping? What the different scripts are being used? Okay. So this information so for every table we are going to have this information in the document. So this is one table. This table is having this structure. This is one table. This table is having this structure. So we are going to have in detail information information about every mapping. Okay, so this is one mapping, and this mapping is having the source, and these are the columns. So these are the target table. These are the columns. Okay, and the mapping document details also will be available. Okay, what is the type of, what is the load strategy? Okay, and then description about each of them. So that information will be there. Very low level details about every mapping. So every mapping, how exactly that we are loading. We have certain template. So accordingly, we will have to fill up these templates. So this template will be having, or this document will be having completed. We don't need to go to ICS mapping to see what logic is being implemented. If you just open this document, this will be enough. This will be good enough to understand how exactly or what exactly is happening in the mapping. So that we will call it as low-level design document. Low-level design document will be having the complete details about the mapping. What is the source tables are being used, target tables are being used, and any parameter files are being used, or any unit fields are being used. Okay, and what are the different major conditions that are being used. So all the details will be added into the low level design document. Okay, now once low level design document is done, then unit testing. Okay, when the SDLC process, right? So in the analysis phase, we are going to have high level and low level design documents prepared. When we come to actual development, okay, when we come to actual development, what we are going to do the development, like we'll be implementing the mappings, and then we are going to start with the unit testing. We will have to do unit testing for every mapping. We have to do the unit testing. So this is the unit testing template, because these unit testing templates also are going to be different from organization to organization. But when you go for interviews, so when somebody is going to ask about what is the unit testing and what are the different test cases that you are going to do it in unit testing, you should be able to answer it, right? So that's why. So you should know about at least one template, so that you can tell the same thing to the interviewer, or if you go to the organization, so then people will be asking you that what are the different steps or unit testing steps that you are following in the previous organization. So even though you did not work, but still you will have to, at least you should be able to tell that, right? So that's why you should know about one template. So this is one of the template. So this I have used in Accenture, okay, somewhere in 2014. Okay, so this is the template. So here we are going to have different test cases that we are going to do as part of unit testing. One is duplicate check, record count check, column match check, insert check, minus query, statistics. Okay, now duplicate check. So when we load the data from source to target, there should not be any duplicate data based on the natural keys. So what is the natural key? The key that we are going to use it in the lookup join condition. Okay, so based on the natural keys, there should not be any duplicates. So that we are going to verify it, and we are going to see the what is the expected result, what is the actual result, and what is the test result, pass or fail. Okay, and then we are going to attach the screenshot. And what is the query is being used? Select constant from table, group by columns having constant greater than 1. Okay, so what is the query being used? So that query we are going to keep it here. We are going to attach the evidences, stating that I have executed this query and this query is not giving any data. Next, record count, source count and target count. So source and target counts should be matching. Now, so select constant from source table, select constant from target table, and then if both the counts are matching, we are going to take the evidences of those two queries and we are going to attach. Then column matching. So whether column data is being properly matched or not. So this is an Excel document. So if you can see here, yeah, this is the customer account, this is the source, and this is the target. And yeah, we are going to take some few sample records, and then we are going to compare them. Okay. So this is at the insert the column matching check. So once the column matching check is done, then we are going to do insert check. So whether the values in the target table are properly inserting or not. Okay. So we are going to verify that whether the records are properly getting inserted. Along with the insert check, we will also do an update check. Okay, so in the update check, we are going to make sure. So when the records has to be go for update, yes, they are going for update or not. Okay, insert check and update check they are going to do, and then data match using source minus query. So source minus target we are going to do. So whatever the logic that we have implemented in the mapping, we are going to build it into a single SQL. That SQL is going to be a source SQL, and source minus target we are going to do. So that's where SQL is going to play a major role. Okay, now we will have to implement what exactly is happening in the mapping, the same logic that we'll have to implement it in the SQL. So that is going to be a source query, and then source minus target we are going to do. That means all the data which is coming from source query is exactly loaded into the target table. If at all there is any issues, if at all there are any issues, the minus query is going to give us the result, like any truncations, the data truncations. Okay, any column mismatches, like so by mistake we have connected different columns to different fields, so like that. So then statistics. Okay, run statistics are basically how much time it is taking. Okay, how much time it is taking, and what's the throughput, what is the load. That information we are going to capture it. Then failure notification. So whenever there is any job is failing, then to whom the mails are going. So we should verify that whether the mails are going properly to the respective team members or not. When we do the unit testing, we will have to keep our mail ID and then we'll have to test it. And then we'll have to revert back to the respective mail IDs. Now, what are the different parameters are being used? What are the different errors are there? So these are the additional at the workflow level or the session level. So if they are applicable, we just need to do the proper screenshots. If they are not applicable, then we are going to keep NA. This is the unit testing template document. Okay, then code review checklist. So there will be code review checklist. As I was telling, right, from day one, I've been telling that we should follow proper standards. Okay, so mapping name should be like this, transformation name should be like this. So we should follow proper standards. When we have to follow the proper standards, so we have to update them here in the document. Yeah, these are the transformations that I am using it, and this is the that I am following it. Okay, so like this, where every organization will be having set of code review checklist. Then we will have to see them accordingly. In our mapping, we are following it or not. We are not following, so there will be checklist status, like we should yes or no will be there. So we are going to make it yes or no. Whatever are yes, we should definitely follow them, and we have to add all these things into the code review checklist. Now this code review checklist and the mapping will be reviewed by the peer. Peer means the senior member in the team. They are going to review that. And they are going to review that. So whether the checklist, whatever is being mentioned in the checklist, is actually there in the mapping or not, and how the logics are being implemented, that will be reviewed by the peer. Okay, once the review is completed, that we will call it as peer review. So we'll be having self review and peer review. Self review will be by the development, so by the developer, and they'll be preparing a self review checklist, and peer review will be there. And peer review also, they are going to verify the self review, and they'll be preparing their peer review checklist. If at all there are any comments, they're going to let the developer know that yes, these are the standards that you did not follow. So these are the standards that are missed. So you'll have to update them and send it for peer review. So this is code review checklist. Okay, so these are the documents that we are going to use it in real time. So once the development is completed, we are going to prepare the unit testing. Once the unit testing is done, we will be having a code review checklist. And before we start with the project, high-level design document and low-level design document. Okay, and to start with the development, we need a mapping document. And what is the actual backend process, SDLC process. So majorly, so these are the documents are going to be used in real time. So you need, I'm going to share all these document templates with you all, so you can have them and just refer them. When you go for interviews, tell them that you have followed these documents only. You have followed these documents is what you can tell them in the interviews. Any questions? Anyone having any questions?
Numbers.
Okay, yeah, I think